Through the power of the Force, one man revolutionized the ways of wielding a lightsaber throughout the prequel trilogy. With the techniques introduced to the prequels, it captures the moment for the audience to cherish the movies even more. And with a perfect revenue of toy sales, the lightsabers is what makes the fans go crazy about, only to get their hands on one and recreate the duels with their friends. Introducing Nick Gillard.
Hey everyone, we are here with Nick Gillard, the man who has been behind the prequel trilogy since the very beginning. He has come up with all of the fights. He has worked very closely with all of the actors and George, and he has done a lot of stuff outside of Star Wars as well. I am very, very honored to be able to speak with him. So hi, Nick. How are you?
Hi, Nia. Nice to meet you.
We're going to pretend like we weren't just talking for 20 minutes. So I would love to know how you started in the industry. I've obviously seen different interviews with you, but if you could tell my listeners how you got started into stunt. I know you were in the circus in the beginning and then moved into Star Wars and your involvement with that, and then we can get into details about different things.
I started here in Brighton, where I live. So when I was very young, I was dropped off at a military school. My parents then went away to New Zealand for 9 months on my dad's ship. But there was a circus in Brighton, where I lived. And I just strolled in there to see if I could get a job. And there was a guy there that had 3 daughters, and really all he wanted was a son, and he took me on. It sounds really odd, but in those days, those sort of things happened. And then when my folks got back, they were cool with it. So I just stayed with him. He then brought me up till I was 18. And at 18, I applied for the British Stunt Register. Over here, you have to qualify, and you have to be like an instructor in 6 sports just to get on the stunt register. It's really about dedication more than needing those requirements. And that was it. So I've never done anything else.
And then you got into Star Wars and you started to work on episode 1 and episode 2 and episode 3. So take me right through that, and then we can get into the nitty-gritties of all the fights and the fun stuff.
1, 2, 3. I've been working for Lucasfilm for a while. Up till then, we've done Indiana Joneses and the young Indiana Joneses, a load of films that Lucasfilm do you don't even know about. Labyrinth is Lucasfilm, a lot of the Jim Henson stuff. Yeah. So I had a kind of connection with them. Then I just got one day Rick McCallum, the producer, called, and I was having a laugh because I'd heard they were doing Star Wars, and I said, you're calling me for Star Wars, aren't you? And he said, yeah. And that was it. The rest is history, really.
So I saw a lot of the concept art of Darth Maul. I don't know if you ever saw the original one, but he looked like a crackhead.
I had this beautiful Doug Chang drawing of him on a speeder in blue. That was an amazing thing.
So when it came to filming a lot of the fight scenes, you said there was a ton that was deleted. What were some of the ones that you wish were included? What are some of the things that you wish George didn't deleted? Why did he delete them? I guess for pacing or whatever. But when we were talking off screen for a minute, you were talking about a lot of the cool fight scenes that were there, and it's blows my mind.
There was originally General Grievous had only 2 arms, and his fight with Obi was quite a private affair. There wasn't anybody else around, and they had a massive fight, a real massive fight with he had a staff. It was kind of like a Darth Maul fight, but on another level. And Obi's basically trying to get his organic parts out of his chest all the way through it. Yeah, and that was a lovely fight that we haven't got to see. I have that fight, all of it, but just with the stunt boys doing it. There was also Yoda when Obi and Anakin fight Dooku, and Yoda comes in that fight. Originally, Yoda wasn't in it.
From episode 2? From
episode 2.
Yeah.
So Yoda's place was taken up with a much bigger fight with Anakin, where Anakin turns a little bit more. You see him I liked it because of that. You saw him, we burnt Dooku in the eyebrow, right through his eyebrow. You also, Obi's unconscious at this point, but you see Anakin take on different vibe.
Wait, so I thought you were talking about episode 3 when that happens. So this was supposed to happen in episode 2?
Do you know, as I was saying to you earlier, I only see him once. You see him at the premiere and then you don't see him again. Not because you're not a fan, but just because it's a different deal when you're making him. You're remembering the time,
Yes.
So I don't even know what episode it was. It's the one where they fight him up the stairs and he zooms Obi.
So 3. Okay, yeah, 3.
3, yeah.
All right.
Well, in that one there, you see in the evolution of when Anakin takes Dooku on, I think he ends up cutting his head off. But that fight there, we changed the way he fought. So less flashy and more just pacing him, like a tiger and hunting him down.
Yeah, because I mean, what we see in the movie is just kind of basically Obi-Wan gets pushed to the side, Anakin gets a little angry, kicks him down the balcony, and then they lock sabers, and Dooku says, "You have hate, you have anger, but you don't use them." And then Anakin, of course, we see a little bit of the dark side, but it's just like a quick 2-3 seconds. Really? His hands come off, and that's it. I gotta watch it again. I mean, the version I've got, I'll pop it together, the whole thing, and send it to you. But it's hot, and it's also, we did it, Kyle Rowling, my boy, who's doubling Dooku, who's a great actor as well, and I said to him, play it like you've suddenly realized this is going wrong and this guy's going to get you, because up to that point, Dooku thinks something else is going to happen. Yeah. And it was, to me, it was really important that you saw that. There was a few things that we wanted in where you would see Anakin start to turn and think, "Fuck," he's going. Yeah. There was another thing we had where you remember in the original one where Luke is battling with that little thing that zips around in the air. Yeah. Practice thing. We had one where Anakin was practicing with that, and it keeps zapping him in the arms, and he just utterly fucking destroyed. No. Yeah. But George wouldn't have it. The thing we fought for most of all was the high ground thing. We hated the high ground thing. It's like the biggest meme now. Everyone keeps
I know. I mean, it has its place now.
Yeah.
And it really was about Hayden. Hayden and I used to walk to this restaurant at night in Bondi. Yeah. And there was a big grass slope, and that was the quickest way. But he fell over it. He fell. The first time we went, he upended himself and slid all down the bank and said, "I'm never going that way again." And in my head, I thought, and Vader is bad on a slope. It gives you just something to work with. But that's sort of how that happened. But we had a different version of that where that didn't happen. And Obi cut his arms and his legs off a different way.
You mean there was a version where there was no high ground?
There was a version that the whole volcano thing where they land on that droid wasn't there. Originally, they swung and landed. They swung off that great big rope, and they just landed on the side of the volcano or on the lava, right next to each other. And straight away, Anakin just grabbed him he disarmed him, grabbed him by the throat. He's got him, and Obi's saber's down on the ground. And Anakin says, "I'm sorry it has to be this way, my master," and actually lets it go. Obi hunches to get away from it, sucks his saber up. As he pulls his saber up, he cuts through Anakin's arms almost by mistake, and then chops through his legs almost by mistake. And the whole body fell off of his legs. And it was more of a defense gone wrong kind of move. It was strong. Even the boys, Ewan and Hayden, went to George and said, "George, this," and he was having none of it. But it's George Lucas, his we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for George. So I think it's foolish second guessing him.
It's foolish, but you just blew my mind. I didn't ever think anything like that existed. That would have been, I think that would have been cooler. But
it was strong.
Whatever George wants, Yeah,
exactly. His vision.
Yeah. You don't have that recorded, do you?
I don't think I do, but it's an easy setup. You and me can do it.
That's pretty sweet. A couple questions. So you remember the fight in Geonosis on Geonosis with Dooku, Anakin when Hayden was much younger, and Obi-Wan. There was a promo picture of Dooku with two lightsabers like this. It was his lightsaber and a blue one. I guess one of the ones the Jedi threw them. What's the deal with that?
That fight started, as I said, Yoda wasn't in it. It was, it may originally have been just Hayden. I don't know. But anyway, there was a section where they both had two lightsabers. And we did a very complicated fight in Kendo, actually, with where they both had two lightsabers. That didn't last long. It must have changed quite quickly. I can remember spending a week doing it with Kyle. Me and Kyle did it, and then me and Hayden did it. It must have gone away.
Yeah,
right. Because that thing changed twice. It was that he was on his own against Dooku, so it might be after Obi gets binged. I don't know. I don't know where they get the other lightsaber from, but they both had two for sure.
Well, because it was
Dooku might have pulled out. I don't know.
I want to know about Yoda. How the heck did you make that happen?
Again, that happened on the day. So we get there to shoot it as it was with a much bigger fight with Obi and Anakin. And George said he wanted Yoda in it. On that day, he said, however it starts, but the blast doors are going to open and there's Yoda. So there's not much you can do. Industrial Light and Magic were there, John Knoll and Rob Coleman. So they had a track of where Yoda was going to be. We were in that set. There was I think Dooku's spaceship was in there. There was a few areas set in there. And we just said to them, tell us where he is. There was a little mannequin of him. So they worked out their track of where he was going to jump to. That was the most important thing. So you could do a fight with nothing there. We just do it so that they're going to match into Kyle. Kyle did it. And then they're going to call. So they commentated, not very well. I think I might have done it too. He jumps over your head, and he's landing on the wing of that spaceship. So then he's got to move to there, do another little bit of a fight. So all he did was just a dance with a lightsaber. Unrepeatable. It was different every single time. He did about 3 takes. Yeah. And then ILM matched Yoda into his move. So he made specific moves, but I said to him on the second take, is that the same as the first one? He went, no.
Oh, that's cool. I always thought you were sitting there in the chair with ILM and telling them how to make a move and fight.
No, by that stage, we sort of taught them that they all, when you're doing it, they all want to learn how to do it. So they pretty much knew how to do it anyway.
Battle of the Heroes, Anakin, Obi-Wan on Mustafar. That was supposed to be
about that too, yeah.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a 12-minute straight fight that you said. What was it like coming up with the sequences for that? Can you take me through it?
The whole 12 minutes?
Well, what was it like coming up with the whole sequence for that fight? I mean, that is one of the most famous sword fights in movie history that people talk about, that fans talk about.
It's a weird thing if you've done it, of course. For me, there was a John Wayne film I think it was called The Quiet Man, something like that. But prior to that had the longest fight. It's a fist fight, great fight. And it wasn't for us, it wasn't about beating anything. It just was that long. When you got the script, it was just that long. And the problem with it was keeping... If it was that long and it was dialogue, of course, there's a build up through the dialogue because the movie's coming to an end. You've got to keep that pace going, right. And keep the pace right. You can't go off too quick. Right. All we did was we had a massive rehearsal space, really massive, and we got the plans from the art department. Because the first time you see the set is when you go on it. You don't get to rehearse on it. And we marked out each set on our rehearsal space. Yeah. So that we knew where doors were, because they were turning into doors. Right, yeah. We would also have to invent 3 moves in case we were short of a door, or too long. You'd have to be able to take it out. But then once we got the geography of it, of where they were going and where they were going to end up and how it was going to all end up. Then it was just a matter of working that pace. It's not so much the pace of the sword fight, more the pace of the movie. You find with that sort of stuff, it comes with the beat. When they're hitting their lightsabers, you can hear it when it's right. You get this rhythm happens, and once that rhythm, when you hear it every day for weeks, once that you can hear when that rhythm's right. It sounds odd, but it's
because you were using the metal ones too back then, but now they use the plastic, whatever. Yeah.
We used beryllium aviation grade in the end, and bamboo. Funnily enough, bamboo was. But it was about that rhythm, and they could also do that fight all the way through in that rehearsal room. So that's what they would do. They would just run the whole thing, time after time. Yeah. And they're both great actors as well. So they understood that the energy that they needed, as they went through. And it just worked out. Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you. We talked about Obi and Anakin switching lightsabers. And I said it happened in the ante room where it's the same room where Anakin kills the Nemoidians when he's on the table and he's killed. In that fight, they go into there in the fight. They go in that room. Yeah, both of them, and they have a fight on that table, a lightsaber fight, and that's how the lightsabers switch.
Oh, it's there, and then you said they flipped and then they switched them.
They flip over each other, and Anakin Obi, or I think it's Obi, grabs his sword as he's going through the air.
Yeah, and then everything was cut out of sequence, so that's why it looks funny.
It was cut out of sequence then, because you lost that bit. They then went back into the main room, and of course he couldn't get the sequence back.
Oh, I see. Which fight is the most one that you're the most proud of that you've done in Star Wars?
I particularly like the desert fight with Qui-Gon and Darth Maul, even though it wasn't much.
So short, but it was so cool.
They come in with that Nubian spaceship and pick up Qui-Gon. I think he jumps onto the ramp. Well, originally Maul got on the ramp too. So
what?
Qui-Gon made it onto the ramp feet first, right? Maul dived as the ship was going, gets it with his fingers, swings, and oh no, it's better. And then they have another fight on the ramp as the ship's going, and Qui-Gon kicks him off of the ship, and he lands in the desert. All of that was good. We shot all that in the studio, but in Tunisia, we shot this great shot of. We built a goalpost about 12 feet high. Big structure, and we had the camera underneath, and this fantastic desert sequence, and where we're going to have Maul drop into frame, like bang onto the desert. That ship go wow,
dude,
into space, and he just lands like that, like watching the ship go. It was strong stuff.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah,
that would have been sick.
I shot all that too.
Oh, if you ever find it, post it. Someday. So there was this hologram that Obi-Wan looks into when he goes back to the Jedi Temple after Order 66. And he's looking into it, and it's Anakin, it's Hayden fighting, and he's choking out one girl, I think, at the same time, and he just bested some other guy. Was that ever actually filmed in full? Because I know there was a whole scene of him in the Jedi Temple that we never got to see. I would have loved to have seen that. I think that would have been sick.
So when we did it, we wanted it to be really violent because it's him, it's Order 66.
Yeah.
And so, he does. I think I parry the first blow straight into the kid's throat, which is awful. It goes straight in his throat. He grabs the other girl and chokes her. I think he ends up cutting her as well. But when we shot it, we shot it full figure. And George went, "Oh dear, that's really violent." And when I saw it at the movie, it was shrunk down.
Yeah, it was like, we didn't even get to see him in his most powerful, darkest state against some of the Jedi Masters, which would have been cool to see. I can understand why it would be far too dark. I'm happy that they cut out the youngling scene. I mean, that would have been a little messed up.
That would have been, I wanted to do that.
You wanted to do it?
Yeah.
Now on the internet, that thing's called the Youngling Slayer 9000.
Really?
Yeah, that's what people talk about. That's the meme. So I wish you the best with all of your endeavors. I thank you so much for your time with chatting with me, and I hope we can chat again one day soon. And if you see Hayden, next time you see him, tell him Nia says hi.
I will do.
Big fan. So Everyone, go check out Nick Gillard's YouTube channel, linked in the description below. You can see all of his videos that he will post someday in the future. And if you ever do use some of his clips, please make sure that you link it back to him and make sure that you do say it is from Nick Gillard, because he created all of this stuff. So with that, we will see you guys later.
Thank you.